November 180 Bravo Bravo, good afternoon to you. Report your altitude? 2,000 feet.
Hi, Wycliffe Barrett here, Xplane Dedicated, and this is the long-awaited review and cold and dark start of the SSG E-Jets 170 Evolution by Riccardo Bolognini. I hope I've got his name right. Excellent aircraft, this, available from Xplane.org, and the price, as you can see, is $49.95, which works out at around about £44 at the moment with the exchange rate. Having a look at the aircraft here, as you can see, it's beautifully drawn, as I stated before in the earlier review, but just looking at some of the features. Now, this aircraft is really fully featured. It's got advanced FMC and navigation system. It's custom built FMC, which has been done by FJCC, designed for the SSG Evolution series. Has SIDS, stars, transitions, approaches, flare and rollout modes. Also has compatible data from Aerosoft or Navigraph, so you can use either one of those. Manufacturer's performance data embedded as tables in the fully functional FMC, and you have an option to either use the 2D FMC or the 3D FMC, which is a pop-up. Custom radio communication audio consoles optimized for online virtual ATC operations. FMC performance is information based on real aircraft data, including calculated V-speeds. It's got high-res 3D modelling complete with detailed animations and textures. Realistic displays featuring PFD, MFD with system synoptics and ICAS, which is really quite different and very interesting. External lights and strobes operating realistically, and realistic wing flex and other animations. As you can see here, we've got the GPU unit attached to the aircraft and the stairs around the other side. Custom systems and flight model, and the aircraft will meet most of the real aircraft performance data. This model has really been well built by Riccardo and is one of the best around at the moment for the price. Fully featured and full of detail. One of the interesting aspects of the aircraft is this little menu system here, and this is where you can configure an awful lot of the aircraft. You can put in fuel, you can put in default weights of fuel, payloads, you can change open doors, windows, you can attach the GPU unit through this little module, which is in the lower overhead, as you can see. You can change the field of view, and there are two screens. There's screen 1 and screen 2, as you can see here, with more functions available for you to play around with. It's a really well-rounded aircraft, as I say. Its systems are very, very deep and very rich. It covers quite a lot, and whilst the startup procedure is a little bit simple, but that is a feature of the Embraer, is still a very feature-rich aircraft with systems depth and variety. Continuing with the feature list, it's got aircraft, as I say, will meet most of the real aircraft's performance data for consumption, angle of attack, speeds, flight dynamics, etc. and has been constructed in close consultation with real-world E-Jet pilots. A nice little feature here is the GPU, which can be activated either through the menu system that I just showed you or the little PTT button just to the left of the glare shield. Moving inside to the overhead, flows of the overhead are done in a top-down, left-to-right configuration, as you can see here through the cursor I'm showing you. So let's get this aircraft powered up and we'll go through the flows. Most switches stay in the 12 o'clock position. GPU is available, so turn that on. It's either 12 o'clock or auto, so as you can see as I go through the switches, it will just test all the lights. So make sure all the lights are off, which means everything is good. Just checking the brake emergency levers there, the fire levers, checking they're stowed. Turning lights on now. Testing the fire alarm there, and just going through once again, making sure the switches are turned on, and basically turn them all on so it's going from left to right and from the top down. Continuing with the overhead checks now, just looking, putting everything to the 12 o'clock position or on. Just going through. You'll notice I haven't actually started the APU yet, but we're going to do that now. So you can do things in almost any order you wish. So we'll start the APU. I could have left it a little bit longer if I wanted to, but we'll start the APU now, and we'll just look at the APU indication. Now this normally takes about 50 seconds to do, but I've shortened the piece of film here just a little bit, so not to have that huge amount of time just waiting for the APU to come on. So there you go. Once it gets to 100% on the left hand side of the screen, you'll see the primary flight display and navigation display come on once the APU is at 100%, and there we are. And you hear the sound bell as well, the warning bell to let you know that it has come on or something has happened. So the aircraft is now fully powered, all the avionics are powered, the IRS is aligned, and the PFD is sorted out. I'm going to look at the flight plan now in the FMC. The FMC in this is slightly different from what you're used to, and in the manual it tells you to do something and do it in a particular fashion, which is slightly wrong. The manual is slightly wrong from the FMC here. You treat it very much like a Boeing FMC. So once you've got your departure and arrival airports in, and I'm just going to put Manchester in here, it changes. The bottom right hand key will change to activate. There you go. So you must activate that now. So it's Cardiff to Manchester, activate, and then you go to your next page and put in your flight plan as normal. Now it does say EGFF, EGCC in the top two lines, but as soon as you start putting in your flight plan, EGFF will disappear, and so will Manchester, because you're putting all the airways and legs in between. It's fairly straightforward from this point, very much like a Boeing FMC, although the manual tells you to do something slightly different here. So treat it like a Boeing FMC and you'll be fine. You then put in your departure as per normal, so it's Brecon 1 Alpha with a Brecon transition, runway 30. There we go. Press that again onto route. That goes into the route. And then you put in your arrival, which is a runway 23 right at Manchester on a Mercy 1 Alpha departure. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. Continuing on with programming the FMC, we now will go to perf initialization page, just checking the route first, getting rid of the discontinuities, so closing the flight plan up. I think there's another one. There it is, yeah. So closing up the FMC, getting rid of the discontinuities, and then going to the perf initialization page. So choosing derated takeoff and flaps 2. Flaps are slightly different in the Embraer. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's flap 2 takeoff, and put your V speeds in. When it comes to thrust limit, you cannot program the winds in. So the FJCC component doesn't allow you to put the winds in, but as I've been told in the past, we don't need the wind component because that is calculated within the data rest for the aircraft, and so shouldn't have a problem. So now it's a case of configuring the glare shield. So altitude, initial altitude 6,000 feet. Whilst there's no indication on the glare shield, it does appear on the primary flight display to the left there. So that's where everything appears there, so initial altitudes, etc. You can configure these screens in any way you want. It's a very clever menu system where you press on the menu buttons on the screen and it will bring up different features. So you can have fuel flow, you can have electrical flows, you can have an ICAS on there, or anything else you want. It's a very, very systems deep, very systems rich aircraft from Ricardo. So I think that's more or less everything there. So maybe it's time to start the engines. So coming back to the overhead and just having a quick scan to make sure the overhead is not telling me anything untoward and that everything is correct. And so we'll just check everything is all right all the way through lights, and coming down to the FMC, just opening up the covers there. Oh, hang on, just need to check. Yes, to check the display panel there, make sure that I've got certain things switched on. You can also put your fuel in there as well, and checking everything else out. GPU, right. So let's get these engines started then, and going back to the lower pedestal. Oh, I'm still not happy. Okay, so there we are. Lower pedestal. Open that up. Turn that to the right, and we'll start the engine. And we'll see on the indication here that it starts up almost immediately. It's an automated process, FADEC, and the ICAS taking over. That's engine 2 started, and we'll now go start engine 1. So as you can see, engine 1 is now starting, temperature is coming up, everything is automated process here, the FADEC and the engine management system. So once the engines are running, I think it might be a good idea to get ourselves off down to the runway and do a quick departure out of Cardiff. We have a before takeoff checklist, and basically we need to make sure that the dorsal throttle is armed and the APU is on as required. Brake temperature, we check that. Transponder, that needs to be set to TARA, and test that, and configuration is tested, and the cabin is prepared, which is what we've done. So as we come down to runway 30, it's vital, I suppose, that I tell you what you need to do at takeoff. It's really strange. The normal technique is to increase the throttles to 40%, as we well know, and once we're at 40%, push the throttles all the way through, and at V2 takeoff 50 degrees. Initial pitch is about 10 degrees for takeoff. After takeoff, confirm that you have a positive rate of climb before selecting the landing gear handle up. And at 400 feet, select the heading on the GP. And at 1,000 feet or acceleration altitude, whichever is higher, select flight level change on the glare shield, and then climb
80
out
knots.
pitch is approximately 15 degrees. Once we're in the climb, select
VR, V2.
Select nav and VNav to navigate via the route you programmed into the FMS. So it's fairly straightforward stuff, and then you'll be on your way. After takeoff as well, there is our after takeoff check. So that's APU is required, gear slats and flap up, passenger sign set, and exterior lights as required. So it's fairly straightforward departure, fairly straightforward getting it to accept the flight plan and follow the flight towards Brecon and then on to Manchester. So there you have it, the Embraer 170 from SSG. Very nice aircraft, very well modelled, looks good in the air, handles well. It's a beauty to fly. It's really nice hand flying it, and the automated systems are really, really good. I like this aircraft an awful lot. I like this aircraft an awful lot, and I give it a good 9 out of 10, and recommend anybody to buy it. It's $49.95. If you haven't got a short-haul aircraft in your hangar, this is the one to get. It's got a few little quirks around it. It's a quirky aircraft in as much as that it's a very different design from what we're used to, but once you've flown it a couple of times, it is a real joy to fly. So there you have it. It's available at xplane.org, and as always, my name is Wycliffe Barrett, and we'll see you very soon in the near future.